So, hello everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Mind Leaders Live. And I hope you are all safe and sound. We are in tough times, and I would like to thank each and every one of you uh, to make time for this particular session, for the amazing response that we have had on our website and the registrations. Now, I would like to give a quick introduction of Mind Leaders Live. It's an initiative by Mind Global and Spread. And we are going to bring a series of global leaders from across the globe who will come in and talk about the role of design strategy and innovation in their lives, in their projects, how it brings value in their lives and their projects that they have done, and also especially the value of design and design strategy in tough times like these. So, with this, I'll quickly move on to a quick introduction by Sonia, founder and partner at Spread. Spread is a global design strategy and innovation firm uh, with its center in Bangalore in India and Brussels in Belgium.
A collective creative mind is what we need most in the present global scenario to be able to create a better, more hopeful future. Mind Leaders Live are conversations where we connect the dots along with folks who have deep experience in design and innovation. It's where our minds meet. Join us now.
And now I would quickly like to move to introduce our very special guest for today. And everyone is special, but Haley is special in a way that we would definitely be collaborating with Mural. And we already use Mural as a part of delivering and conducting our workshop and courses. So Haley is zooming in from San Francisco right now. She is a marathoner, like not in the philosophical sense, in a literal sense. She runs marathons, and she is basically into reimagining collaboration, building, and supporting creative confidence. She's a storyteller and a speaker, and she has spoken on platforms like TEDx, SAP TechEd, and Dallas Design Sprint before. She's really passionate about technology and people who use these collaboration tools to make their dreams come to reality. Haley and I know each other while we worked together at SAP, and out of the 85,000 employees we had back then, we had some bunch of 50 people who were super crazy about design and design thinking across the globe, and we found a way to collaborate virtually. And something that struck me right now that Haley and I have never met before, and she is on the Mind Leaders Live today. And it's only because we have been on so many sessions together, especially on the design jams that we used to conduct as a part of the sessions that we used to have at SAP, and also a part of many such DT activities. So definitely, that's a great example in itself of virtual collaboration. So with this, I'll move the conversation to Haley for us to introduce her. This is after 2017. I think Haley and I are working together for the first time. And I would want her to give us an update on how did she get here, because she's in a totally different world and a totally different space. And with this, I would like to hand over the session to Haley to introduce herself and her journey since last time we met.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shwetab. It is really incredible that we haven't met in person, face to face in a way, but that we have been able to build this relationship and continue to collaborate. So that's truly wonderful. And also joining and having people from all over the world here really speaks to the mind community that you guys are building in that movement. So it's wonderful to be part of it and excited to have you guys here today. So let me give a quick overview about what I do, what we've mentioned Mural, what that is, and give you guys a sense of my journey, because it's definitely not linear in any sense. So throughout this, I'm going to share my screen to give you guys some visuals, and that'll help kind of provide you guys some context. So first of all, I am a services lead at Mural. And Mural is basically an online whiteboard. So it's a space where think about you as people who are collaborating and who are designing and who are leaders need space to share ideas, to connect, to build together. And when you're working face to face in a room, that's where your whiteboard comes in play. But online, and especially right now, given COVID-19, we don't have that opportunity. So Mural is really a space for you to continue that type of visual collaboration, even though you are not in a physical space. It becomes a shared space for you to work together. And so my role at Mural really is, I'm a professional facilitator, so I help teams have conversations, and I lead meetings and things like that. I'll go more into how I got here, but I also coach people on how to facilitate and um, be successful in online meetings, because it is a shift from a face-to-face world. All right, so where did I start? And by the way, this is a little bit about what you can do with Mural. It's great for really any part of the design process. This might be familiar to you, where we're building empathy, we're brainstorming, planning. This is where Mural really shines. And so I'm happy to answer any questions as we go through, and actually I'll show more examples today. So how did I get here? I really started finding my craft in terms of design, I think, is always a medium, and mine has really been conversations and meetings. So I don't necessarily have a training formally in facilitation, but I really found that I helped people who might have been on different sides of the same coin, or so they thought, understand that they were actually speaking the same language and working towards the same goals. And so that's really where my work started to thrive. So I think that's probably the first thing I thought about in my work. I'd say the second thing that came to mind in terms of what are my skills and where do I thrive, one moment, is with visuals. So anything having to do with icons, images, diagrams, all of that really speaks to me. And actually, it's because I was attending one too many meetings where there wasn't a lot of engagement, and I was falling asleep in my meetings, and my boss would have to nudge me awake. And so visuals became a really strong way for me, and I'll show you guys a picture of me actually using them now. Here I am actually drawing. Visuals became a way for me to stay awake, but also to translate conversations. And so I had to really actively listen to start taking notes. And I found that I stayed awake, but also when I shared notes, people really enjoyed it. And they realized I was listening to them, and they wanted me to be part of more meetings and part of those conversations. And then I think the third thing is this notion of digital space. So I'm a remote worker outside of just this current situation, and I've been a remote worker for about 3 years. And even before that, I worked with Shwetab and other teammates at SAP all around the world. And I found that I was loving the collaborative nature of design sessions and meetings, and I was losing that experience when I was coming online. And so I was determined to really make that happen for other people when I started learning and experimenting with how to make it more enjoyable and collaborative. And so that really brought me to where I am today at Mural, which is coaching others.
Yeah, that's an interesting journey, and I think uh, it's quite a leap from the role that you had at SAP, because it was product focused, and what you do here is service design. And I think most of us are, most of the people in the audience, I'm sure, are trying to explore the next leap that they would like to take. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting journey, and even more interesting leap there. Okay, Hailey. So we'll start with the session today on the topics that we have discussed around virtual collaboration. But I think before that, to set the context, I would like to, because this is about creative leadership program, and we are talking about we are calling this Mind Leaders Live, where we are calling in leaders from across the globe. What I would like to get your opinion on what do you think is the relationship between design strategy or design with leadership? What do they share? What kind of relationship do they share?
So when you and I talked about this question, this really powerful image came to mind, and I'm going to share it with you guys in one moment. So as Shweta mentioned, I'm a runner. I absolutely love running. It is my way to reflect and escape. And this thought of these two runners came to mind, where so this is actually the American Olympic trials this past um, winter. And these are the top two women. So the top three go to the Olympics, and these two women were the first two to be able to cross the line. And they're basically by themselves in this situation going the last 10K of the race. And you can tell in their faces they're really uncomfortable. It hurts a lot, right? Running an incredibly fast pace for this long has to hurt. And it looks like they're competitors at first, but they ran that whole thing together because they knew that if one dropped back, then they wouldn't be able to hold on and persevere. So it was amazing watching this race and hearing the other women calling to each other. So she would say, come on, we got this, let's go. And the other woman would pull up again to work with her. And they ran stride for stride through pretty much the whole race until the last 400 meters. So now, how does this relate back to design strategy and leadership? So I think it calls to the idea that design strategy and leadership, they're not competitors, but they have to work together to really accomplish the goals. And when you're a leader, you are really helping power other people to accomplish their goals, to understand the vision, and you really have to understand the people that you're serving. I really believe in servant leadership. And to be a great leader, I think you need to have a lot of the empathy and the willingness to go out and experiment and willingness to reflect and learn to be a great leader as well. So I consider them forces that push each other to something bigger and something greater. So being a design leader to me means being able to make decisions, being able to have a point of view and a stand, but then also having the humility and the grace to take a step back, to actively listen and understand people and scenarios, and to solve problems in creative ways.
Yeah, that's I think quite some insights there from that one example. We can definitely see the empathetic side of them. Like, let's be there for each other, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's also a great example of strategic collaboration in a very competitive ambience.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, by being there for each other and then winning it together because both of them are going out to the Olympics. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great example. And
Yeah.
so
And it's a
I
team
think,
sport, right? Like running, I
yeah,
think people think it's a solo sport, but women, like these women train with teams. And design, we don't design alone. We don't lead alone. You have to have people following you to be a leader, right? It's the nature of it. So a lot of parallels. I learn a lot from running. So it's a wonderful thing.
yeah, definitely. I mean, being in a team. So I've been in sports, and I totally understand how much sports teaches you about being in a team and handling setbacks and failures, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with this, we move on to the. I mean, we'll just try to make this whole conversation a little more contextual to the situation that we are in right now. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
can we, the example that we just, how can we leverage strategic design and leadership in the present situation? Because I think this is a situation that's shared across the globe. Like, everyone is a part of this crisis. So
Yeah.
how does strategic design and leadership become a part of our, say, day-to-day life in times like these?
Absolutely. So if you guys are, of course, trying to still continue working with your families, maybe in the other room or in the same room, um, and working like me with lots of Zoom calls or whatever tool you're using, there's this risk of and this feeling of disengagement where we used to do things really collaboratively in the same room, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and now it doesn't feel quite the same, right? And I'll be honest, like there are some meetings that I definitely am not paying attention in, or I just don't feel interested and excited about because maybe somebody is just walking me through a Word document or something, and I don't feel ownership or excitement about what they're sharing. So this challenge of disengagement to me is really fascinating, especially given the world we're in. And I think we need to use the design principles and the design process to look at where the pain points are right now with how we engage, how we interact, and um, and think about how we overcome this and how we create a sense of energy and excitement and connection even though we're not in the same physical space.
So I definitely check email. I definitely check my WhatsApp. Social media, not so much, but email and WhatsApp, yes. And I also end up writing emails while I am in a meeting, which is again a challenge for me to like
Yeah.
not be distracted.
Yeah, we're all human. We have lots of things competing for our attention today, right? So it's understandable, but I also think it's a wonderful challenge for us as design people who want to be design strategists, who are design strategists to tackle. So how do we make our meetings more engaging? Um, Especially because we're finding, I think a lot of people are realizing that, yeah, right now the scenario is a little bit extreme, like everybody's home together in the same room, but maybe some people are really enjoying not having to commute every day if your commute's long, or being able to spend more time at home with family. So this is going to shift the way we work and how we're going to be expected to work together with other people. And I love in fact, it's so impactful. TCS, the CEO of TCS recently said that 75% of their workforce in 2025, by 2025, will be able to work remote, will not be expected to be in the office because now we're seeing it's possible. So that's something that we have to start thinking about as design leaders. How do we create experiences like that? So
Yeah,
it's
I
really
think
fascinating.
yeah, the work from home culture is here to stay definitely with the uncertainties we have uh, right in front of us right now, and a lot of us are trying to fit in. Like I was not someone who would like to cook because I'm not good at it, and I don't look forward to it as something very interesting. But I'm doing that as a part of my daily activities, and definitely it's. I mean, to me, it's a huge distraction from my work because when I was in office, I would have it available, and I'm sure that there are more people who are kind of forced to take up things that they probably wouldn't because of the situation. And
Mhm.
there are many organizations who have started to uh, leverage this situation to start designing experiences and a culture where people can work remotely. Because for the businesses which are running as good as before or even better, they would definitely want to continue because people working from home
Mhm.
also is a huge cost cut down for the organization. So yes, companies are looking forward to it, and this culture is here to stay definitely.
Mhm.
So you being from Mural, which happens to be the pioneers of in the present day, which happens to be the pioneers of virtual collaboration, and interestingly, at the intersection of experience design and interaction design, I would say.
Mhm.
How do we increase the engagement and collaboration when not in the same physical space? Like, what can we
Yeah.
probably do to achieve that?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I answer, I'm also going to share with you, Shweta, one of my favorite books for cooking that I hope will inspire you. It's called Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, and I sent that over in the chat, so you can take a look at
Thank
that
you.
later for everyone. It's a wonderful book,
Thank you.
and it's beautiful, beautiful visuals as well. Um, because I love cooking as well. That's one of my favorite things. And I applaud you for being uncomfortable with and trying something new. That's something as designers we need to do all the time is learn from other inspiring places. But what we need to do as design strategists and as leaders is really evolve. So this is going to be all about evolving our practice, in design, about evolving how we think about bringing people together, and how we think about working through this design process and this approach. So it's a challenge, but I want to give you guys today some actionable excuse me, some actionable tips and advice that you might be able to take into your next meeting or your next gathering with your family, so that you are starting to experiment with these different ways of working. And it's going to take, honestly, you as a design strategist and as a leader, accepting that online meetings are not kind of the ugly stepsister of in-person meetings. They really have a space in this world we're in. Like Shwetad, like you said, it saves us time commuting. It saves time, more environmentally friendly since we're not commuting back and forth. There are a lot of benefits to it. So with that, I'm going to give you guys these 5 quick actionable things that you guys can do as leaders to help evolve how you bring people together. So first of all, number 1, if you guys are ready, is that we need to define why we're really gathering and why we're really meeting online. So one of my favorite books, The Art of Gathering, Priya Parker opens the book with a simple question: why do we gather? And it's simple, but it's so impactful because we use that response to really shift how we design these experiences. I mean, meetings are really the art of experience design in a lot of ways. And I think that this question needs an evolution for today's world, to think about, why are we gathering online? So of course, we did not think it was going to be because of a pandemic, right? This was not an unexpected thing. But before this all happened, we were in meetings like this before, where maybe there wasn't budget to travel, or maybe there weren't enough meeting rooms in the office where we were working. But if we ask this question for any meeting that we are asked to come to, why am I expected to be in this meeting, or for any meeting we set up, we're starting to build empathy for the people who are going to be there. I mean, think about it. Right now, Shwetab, you're in a completely different city than, you're not home right now, so you're probably missing your family. A lot of you are dealing with trying to learn new tools or trying to manage your kids running around while you're working. And it's probably incredibly frustrating, right? But if we ask that question, if we challenge ourselves to think about that question, we might suddenly realize that we can design a much better experience for everybody who is going to be in our meetings, and think about it more as an opportunity to practice a lot of our own design approaches and methods. All right, number 2 is to keep it short and simple. So short and simple, the methods, the meetings, anything you can do to simplify this approach. Because in face-to-face meetings, we rely a lot on kind of the conventions of how meetings work from years of practice, right? We say, have a seat and stand up and write something and peel that sticky note and put it on the wall. But in online meetings, we have to learn a combination of different tools like Mural, like Zoom, and that can be intimidating for people. It can act as a barrier, but I definitely don't think that it has to. And if you guys think about ways that you can make it simpler for people to join, not to say that it works for everyone all the time, but you can help people build their confidence. So a great way to do this is to only give people the need to know information to accomplish a task, and think of your meeting as the way to kind of scaffold different elements of learning different tools. So for example, Mural. So this is Mural. If you've never seen it before, welcome. When somebody joins Mural for the first time, I like to teach them 2 things. Just 2. So first of all is how to zoom in and out of this space that's the canvas. And I also like to teach them how to add a sticky note. And so I'll literally show them how to add this content onto the mural. And I say, that's it. Don't focus on anything else, any of these other tools or features. Just focus on these two. And what that does is helps them feel a little bit more comfortable contributing to the conversation. And it helps focus on what needs to get done in the meeting, because I'm really not there to teach them tools. That's not my job. My job is to coach them and to facilitate outcomes and facilitate conversation. So think about ways in your next meeting where you can simplify the experience for the people there, or you might ask someone, like, tell me, what do I need to know to just be involved, and save yourself and others lots of stress.
Pretty interesting, and I love the visuals and the layout that you just shared, and it's very close to the whiteboarding that we do while we brainstorm. So that's definitely interesting.
So let me go ahead and share my third tip, which is to make time for play. So I love, and when I started using design thinking, the design approach, this notion of icebreakers is really wonderful to me, because people need to build trust by connecting with one another in meetings and outside of meetings. So we take breaks, we go to lunch, we have these casual moments to connect, and we definitely lose that or risk losing. And when you hear people saying, I have Zoom fatigue, because we're on back and forth meetings all day, but we don't get time to actually connect with one another as people, which is so important, right? So I like to bring warm-ups into as many of my meetings as possible, and it can be as simple as taking a deep breath with everybody together. That's definitely become more acceptable, because it used to, when I first started at SAP, it was definitely kind of weird to some people, to doing some sort of fun, energizing game. So let me tell you a little bit about this image. This is actually at a Mural all hands meeting. So we have over 150 people working at Mural all around the world, and we're all on camera during our all hands meeting. So it's a lot of floating heads. And we need to get people focused. We need to get them confident and ready to engage during these meetings. So during one of them, I did this warm up where we focused on feet instead. So here's what we did. I gave people the link to this mural and asked them to take a picture of the shoes they were wearing that day to the meeting and upload it into this mural, and add their name next to it and tell us what your shoes say about you. So I think a big part of leadership is not just telling people what to do, but showing them what great looks like by leading by example. So I actually prepared a picture of my feet. I was wearing compression socks that day because I went for a run and my legs were sore. And I showed them an example of how to do this so that they felt more confident jumping into this warm up and working. And they did struggle a little bit at first. People are warming up, they're getting into things, but ultimately we were able to make this mural with people's feet, their shoes, and telling us a little bit about themselves. And honestly, I'd rather they took a little bit of time to do this at the start of the meeting to build their confidence than later on when I needed them to engage and help with making decisions or asking questions. So it was a really fun way to energize. And it was also kind of a playful moment too. So these are not Lucas's feet. Someone put this gross foot picture in here. And so it's kind of a fun way to make fun and joke with each other. We also found out that one of our diners, Nadia, actually makes her own shoes. And otherwise, we don't get a lot of time together. This was just a wonderful moment to learn something new about somebody in our team. So what does this mean for you as a design strategist and leader? Make sure that you're making time for people and for yourself to have a reflective moment, a moment to connect, because we're people first. We need to have that space to do it. So that's a really essential ingredient to our work.
Yeah, that's interesting. So while we were conducting a lot of facilitation at SAP, we had this toolkit of warm-up games, and that Patricia, who was the head of delivery of design thinking for software products, that shared with all the facilitators. And it has a bunch of warm-up games for every session. For research, there's a bunch of warm-up games, and then there's for prototyping. And I was just going through them to figure out how many of these can actually be made into, we can have an online delivery, and quite a few. And then I was just reimagining on how can we probably have more warm-up fun games online, because at Spread, we are looking at delivering some of our sessions. So we also do consulting and do workshops for corporates to teach them and have them develop the design sense and the design strategy acumen for the organization. So we are looking forward to conduct a few session online, and like, I think Mural can be a great reference for us to study a lot of best practices that you might be following. So thanks a lot for sharing that. And maybe I'll catch up with you later on the warm-up activities, because they are really cool and fun. And Zoom
Yeah.
fatigue was something that, yeah, I haven't used it till now. I think you're the first one that I heard it from. But definitely we, at times, because we work at a design firm, most of our work is incredibly collaborative, and we end up being on meetings for very long, and then there is work to do. So it becomes really long, and yeah, Zoom fatigue definitely catches up.
I have one
Let's
more.
move on.
This is
Yeah.
all right. Let me go through my last one, last but definitely not least. One moment. Let me just make sure I'm sharing my screen. Flipping back and forth here. Okay, here we go. So last, oh no, two more to go. So second to last is using the time between. So I think a lot of people think that I mentioned I worked on a distributed team, and people used to think that I worked crazy hours to meet with my teammates I'm in California, they're in Singapore. It's about 12 hours plus difference. And they are surprised to know I don't, because I take advantage of what's called asynchronous collaboration, which literally means that instead of jumping in a meeting at the same time like we're working on different schedules. So this is what it looks like. Here's an example of my team right now. We're spread out around the world, and we needed to start planning an event. So we did get together for about 1 hour to discuss in real time the key components of the event. Who do we want to be there? Why are we having this event? What is the goal of having this event? And about 45 minutes into the meeting, I said, okay, here's your homework in a way. So we're going to have another real-time meeting. But in between, I want you to design us a magazine cover of, let's say someone published a magazine and we were on the front of it saying we launched this amazing event, a huge success. What would it say? And I gave them the instructions and this template that's in Mural to design that magazine cover and the poster for it, and said at the next meeting, we're going to review this. And we use Slack at Mural, so that was kind of our channel to answer questions or clarify information between the two meetings. But when we came back to the meeting, everybody shared their magazine cover with the vision and the concept. And you can see here, we actually did give feedback while people were sharing back their magazine covers. The rest of the group was actively listening and capturing what they liked, what they would change, and different questions. So really asynchronous work is wonderful, because think about it, not all of us necessarily work on the same schedule. I mean, my time when I'm creative and your time when you're creative might be different, but real-time meetings might limit us to only certain windows. So the great part about working in this way is I'm allowing people to work when they're feeling the most creative, and especially some people don't feel like to speak out during meetings. So if you're feeling shy, you're a little bit introverted, you get the opportunity to step back, reflect, and then iterate on it. So when you are thinking about designing meetings, think about what people can do between. And really, as a leader, your job is to give them instructions and guidance on how to move your project or your design process forward successfully, together but apart. So that's my fourth one. And
That's
actually, oh, go ahead, Shweta, I'm sorry.
no, please go ahead.
I was gonna this was also a poll that I was curious to know, when
Okay.
the next poll is wondering, when do people feel the most creative? So then you're gonna get some time options, and I'd love to know, when during the day are you creative?
Oh, okay. So it's definitely in the
Some
middle of
night
the night.
owls. I love it. Well, no, it's a great point. I think it's interesting to think about why what happens at this time of your day, or maybe it's when you're trying to go to sleep.
Yeah.
It might be when you have just free time to think, or to take a walk, or while you're in the shower or driving. So it's interesting to think about your creative triggers that that prompt that. I
Yeah.
love
So
that.
I think it's more of when people have a free mind, uh,
Mm-hmm.
when they can actually can think of something when without any constraints or disturbances, because I think the most of the stimulus is off at midnight, right? And we have all of our brain and attention to ourselves. So that might be one of the reasons. And yeah,
Yeah.
even for me, if I want to like think or write something, because I do write, so I do it late in the night after I'm done with my day. So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. Let's move on to. Do you have one more point?
One
I
more. I'll
guess.
keep it short
Oh,
and
okay.
sweet. I realize we're
Okay,
mindful.
cool.
I want to be mindful of time and people's questions.
Cool.
Um, but the last one I would love to share, this one's my favorite, because it's all about working visually. So I mentioned that's part of my work. I'm a visual worker. And so this is, again, icons, diagrams, shapes, color. Um, Visuals are a really powerful way to bring people together and align on an idea. So visuals to me are fantastic because they keep people focused during meetings, especially when it's easy to get distracted, right? So let's say I invited you into a meeting and this was your agenda. So you can see this is not your typical meeting agenda, right? You can still see the flow. You still know what's going to happen in these different activities, but it tells a story. And I really believe that meetings are stories that we get to create with people. So that's a really great reason to make something visual for people. I also like using GIFs to show rather than tell. So you'll see I'm using GIFs in this talk, right, to describe what to do and to give examples. That's a lot richer than words. And then also think about the way people are going to join into these conversations in our design process by phone, by tablets, laptops, different locations, and visuals work really well across different devices. So to me, the visually working is, and as designers and design strategists, it's the way to communicate effectively. And when we work visually and we co-create a visual, we increase ownership in a project and the success of a project as well. So remember that your meetings are stories, and you can use your passion for creativity and to make them engaging. That's it. Those are my 5 tips, and maybe I'll show you guys the as a reminder, the 5, so you see them, and if you have any questions, we can kind of jump in there too.
Yeah. So I think while we take a look at this, what I will. Oh wow. So while we take a look at this, there's a question coming back again and again whether we have this recording. Yes, this recording will be hosted on YouTube, and we will share in a follow-up email with you. Also, I would like to start looking at the questions after this. Maybe Hailey can look at the questions that she wants to pick up. Meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll introduce you to the program, the Creative Leaders Program. I think we have had an overwhelming response on the program. We have 80 registrations, which is way beyond our say expectations. So the Mind Creative Leadership Program is a online postgraduate certificate program. We have 80 plus applications already. It's a live studio session. We have 8 courses running over 22 weeks, where basically we try to use design principle and design strategy methods, innovation practices to embed a structural and creative approach to problem solving. Now, the 3 USPs that I can definitely tell you about this program is going to be the curriculum, which is developed by industry experts, the curriculum delivery, which is again by industry experts. And while you are in the program, you work on a live project, which is a dare. So I'd request everyone to visit the website, take a look at a few dares. So the moment you come into the program, you start working on the dares. So you don't just learn and have an examination at the end. You also work on these dares, and you work on these live projects and implement whatever you have learned onto these live projects, which are dares. So I would request everyone to visit mind-global.com, have a look at the dares, and in case you have any questions, there are forms where you can apply from. Right now, I would like to tell you that there's a discount also running on the program. And a quick tip for everyone would be that in case you are planning to apply and then there is more than 1 people, please reach out to us and apply in groups, because you get a further discount if you apply in groups. The events for the session would be held at Design Barn, which is an innovation space where we have had organizations like Amazon, Maruti, Google, Daimler host innovation events. And you can follow Design Barn to look at the upcoming events and be a part of it. Most of the events that we are hosting, owing to the situation, is online. But as soon as the situation is in place and as soon as the lockdown is lifted, we'll be back to physical events, and we look forward to having you at our space. So with that, I think we'll move on to Q&A. I think Hailey has had a quick look at the questions, and then obviously we might not be able to answer all of them because of time, but we'll try to answer as many of them and then get back to you with a response on the email after the session over the week. Hailey, over to you.
All right, thanks. And yeah, while we're looking at the chat too, I also want to give you guys let you guys know that Mural, if you are curious to learn more about visual collaboration, we are offering you guys a chance to use the tool for 90 days free. So if you want to sign up, I've just put that in the chat. But yeah, lots of great questions coming in. One of them I wanted to share was, let me see, empathizing. How do we empathize with others when we cannot be in the same space as they are? So this is where things like a lot of research methods come into play, where you need to do observation, and there are a lot of other great methods you can use that you don't necessarily have to be in person. So things like interviewing, asking people to journal, asking people to even like capture their day with a kind of a live, like reality TV style video. I think there's a lot of creative workarounds that we can do. But it's really about the art of being genuine and having open conversations with people that I think is incredibly important. And that's where the empathy starts to stem from. And then there was another one that was really fascinating. That was, I often hear that strategy is for creatives who can't design. And what are your thoughts on that? That's such a fascinating thing. So I think that I disagree. I guess my first thing. I think that people who are strategic they have a superpower, that they can really understand the big picture. They can connect the dots, and that's really what designers do. Is we're solving large, challenging problems across a system. And I think that even though you're not designing products per se, you're designing systems and experiences. So it's just a different way to use your design skills, because design is a process and an action and a mindset. So yeah, I think anybody who's here and willing to take that mindset and that approach and use it is on their way to being a designer in whatever medium you choose.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because one of the things that I see, because design is growing and design is an upcoming field, and it's both growing in academics and industry. There is always a question on design as a skill set, on how many design tools that I know and how good I am at that, and also about a strategic mindset. So I think there has to be a balance of both to get valuable outcomes. So yeah, it's a combination of both, and we should. I do not have academic design background, and I'm still
me
driving
neither.
design projects. Yeah, so we neither Haley or I have academic design backgrounds, and we do drive projects. So my forte is prototyping and research, which is definitely one of the stages in the entire strategic design process. So in case you have any reservations on whether you can be in the design space if you are not from design background, I think you should get rid of that right away, because you have two people right in front of you who are into design and driving design projects without having a formal degree in design. Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm not sure if you can take any more questions, but what I'll do for the questions that are specifically pointed at Haley, I'll loop them in with Haley maybe later on, or maybe refer to her slides or the content that we have. We are going to host the recording and share it with everyone who was present here. With this, I would quickly like to move towards the closing, because we are slightly over time right now. So we would like to, it's 11:32. So we are 2 minutes over 11:30. And what I will like to do is we would like to play a quick video message from our MD in Brussels office, Mr. Alok Nandi.
Hi there. Mind Leaders Live will be our journey together to make design, innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship the powerful force we need for a bright new future. Join us for the conversations as we discover connections, reconstruct futures, and remind ourselves of how powerful we can all be together. See you on Mind. Cheers.
Thank you. A quick tip for everyone. So there are a bunch of things that we refer to. I would like to tell everyone that we will be sending that to you. We have a 90 days Mural free trial that we'll be sharing it with you. All the 5 steps there are in a blog post that Haley will be sharing with us and we will be sharing with you. Everyone who is on this call gets a chance to be a part of our Design Bond community. In the follow-up email, we would request you to kindly look at the invite. We will invite you to be a part of the Design Bond community. We will want you to be a part of the community. And for every single one who has attended the session, we have physical badges for you at the Design Bond. So if you drop by, please collect your badges for this particular session. Also, Haley, do you have any closing words before I announce the next speaker and we move towards closing the session? Over to you for the closing words.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I deeply appreciate all of you joining me and being part of this community. And the biggest piece of advice that I would offer to you is make sure that you take a moment in this journey that you're going on to learn design to reflect, because reflection leads to growth, it leads to change in how you work, and it helps you identify your blind spots. And that's what a great leader does, is continues to grow and work on themselves. So take your moments to pause and reflect, and you never know, that pause in the middle of the night might lead to a great idea.
Yeah, thanks, Haley, for your time. And we probably look forward to more collaborations with Mural in the future, because it's definitely one of the tools that we use. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll be zooming in Brian Hallett, who is a viral storyteller from Madrid, next Saturday. So please go on to the events page on the website. It's mind-global.com and sign up for the next session. The session is live right now. Thank you, Haley, and thank you, everyone. See you next Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Take care. Stay healthy and safe.